Hello YouTube, Brad Zook here. First let me tell you what this video is not and what this video is. This video is not me trying to convince you that the Trinity is the truth. I understand I have a lot of subscribers to this channel who are not believers and some who are believers, and that's great that we don't have to reject people based on their religious beliefs. So the main reason that this video is talking about the Watchtower's constant claim that me as a Christian, the reason that I believe in the deity of Christ is based on some 4th century Council of Nicaea heresy that was pushed forward by Emperor Constantine. I have also never been a real big fan of the term Trinity. I just don't think it's very descriptive, so I like to use the term deity of Christ. So first let me tell you a little bit about myself, my background. When I became a Christian, I didn't have anyone that was teaching me the Bible. I wasn't going to church. As a matter of fact, from the time I became a Christian till the very first time that I set foot in a church, it was 13 years. 13 years straight of me just reading the Bible all by myself. I didn't have anybody teaching me. I wasn't listening to any sermons, nothing on the radio, nothing on television. We didn't have this fancy interweb thingy back then. It was just me and the Bible alone for 13 years. So as I was reading the Bible, I started off with 2 truths, and that is, 1, the Bible is true, number 2, the Bible can't contradict itself. That's what I started with. And in my reading, I was faced with this dilemma. I would read a verse like this. I say, and by the way, this is all going to be from the New World Translation, just because I can, because the Watchtower Society hasn't monkeyed with these verses too much. So I found a verse like this. Isaiah 43:11 says, I am Jehovah, and besides me there is no Savior. Other versions say, you will recognize no Savior but me. You will acknowledge no Savior but me. New World Translation says, besides me there is no Savior. Hosea 13:4 says, but I am Jehovah your God from the land of Egypt. You knew no God except me, and besides me there is no Savior. And then I read John 4:42. We no longer believe just because of what you said, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this man really is the Savior of the world. Talking about Jesus. Titus 3:6. He poured this Spirit out richly on us through Jesus Christ our Savior. So now I have the Bible is true. The Bible can't contradict itself. I am Jehovah, and besides me there is no Savior. I am Jehovah, and besides me there is no Savior. This man really is the Savior of the world, referring to Jesus, and Jesus Christ, our Savior. So my challenge was to come up with one doctrinal statement that could make all 6 of these lines true. Because we know that we have this entity known as Jehovah. He is God, and He is the Savior, and there is no Savior except for Him. And we also have Jesus being referred to as the Savior. So if I'm going to come up with one doctrinal belief that makes all 6 of those statements true, well, there was only one that I could possibly come up with. There's only one that made sense. Every other doctrinal belief system in the world makes one of those 6 a contradiction or false. Now again, I'm not trying to convince anybody to believe in the Trinity. I'm just telling you why I believe it, and why, as the Watchtower would let you believe, that it has something to do with the Council of Nicaea. I'm letting you know that it has absolutely nothing to do with the Council of Nicaea. Just one more segment here. This is in Revelation. So in Revelation I read, and I'm a very concrete, sequential person. I read, I look at the facts, I take the facts. facts for what they are. Revelation 1:8. I am the Alpha and the Omega, says Jehovah God, the one who is, the one who was, the one who is coming, the Almighty. So Alpha and Omega is God's way of saying He is, Alpha being the first letter of the Greek alphabet, Omega being the last letter of the Greek alphabet. This is God's way of saying He's everything. He is the very beginning and the end. He exists eternally in both directions. That's what He is indicating there. Revelation 21:6. And He said to me, they have come to pass. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So He's repeating it to really hit home this point. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. Revelation 22:13. Once again, Jehovah says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. See, He's repeating Himself, He's being redundant, He's saying the same thing over and over. And all three of them are meaning the same thing. Beginning and the end, first and the last, Alpha and Omega. The next, I read Revelation 1:17 through 18. When I saw Him, I fell as dead at His feet, and He laid His right hand on me and said, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, the living one, and I became dead. Excuse me, where was I? I am the first and the last, the living one, and I became dead. But look, I am living forever and ever, and I have the keys of death and of the grave. Now clearly that's speaking of Jesus, because when did Jehovah become dead? Well, let's compare that to Isaiah 44:6, for example. This is what Jehovah says, the King of Israel and His repurchaser, Jehovah of armies. I am the first and I am the last. There is no God but me. So, again, I was faced with the dilemma, what doctrinal statement, what one doctrinal statement can make all of those verses work? Now, my point is, when the Watchtower says that I believe in the deity of Christ because of some 4th century heresy, they, quite frankly, don't know what they're talking about. Because, you know, when it comes to my doctrinal beliefs come from the Bible. I don't care what the Emperor Constantine has to say any more than I care about the Emperor Palpatine. Both of them have the same influence on my doctrine, which is zip. I just got it from reading this book, and this is what happens when you read the book not influenced by someone else telling you what it's supposed to say. Just read it for yourself. You actually are smart enough to figure out this book for yourself if you read it with fresh eyes. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.